Hello, happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us right now on iTunes, leave a 5-star review like this one from Mayor McDickcheese. Great combos with great guests. Usually I try and write a funny comment just to hear Chrissy say it, but dang, this is legit becoming my favorite podcast, and I listen to it a lot. After listening to more serious conspiracy pods, it's nice to come to Chrissy and get some legit laughs while also getting a nice dose of red pilling. Pew, pew, pew. Thanks, Mayor McDickcheese. Stand up, guys. Stand up dates. I'm going to be in Morris Plains, New Jersey next Saturday, June 12th at the Tiff's Ale House, also known as the Dojo of Comedy. Get tickets on my website, ChrissieMayr.com. Please and thank you. Lots of dates. More coming up through the summer and into the fall. Very excited about that. You know what else I'm excited about? Smoking my CBD. I'm here to talk to you guys about Cushy Dreams. They offer a premium full lineup of smokable CBD in bud and pre-roll CBD joints, whatever your style is. If you have a cute little ceramic bowl or something and you like to smoke out of it there, great. If you're not, if you're like a busy gal or guy on the go, then I think the joints might be more your speed. They're very cool. I like them. They have this special 5-pack going on right now. Very chic. Whoop. You just pull out one of these little betties. Oh, it smells good. It smells just like high quality marijuana, but it's not. It's not going to get you high. There's under 0.3% THC in all these products. So you can enjoy all the health benefits of CBD without getting high. It's cannabis that ships directly to you, and it's legal in all 50 states. Join the men and women who are sick of vapes and gummies and want to smoke their CBD. I'm somebody who deals with anxiety all the time, just in the middle of the day, just randomly. But having a couple of pulls on one of these CBD joints really does help me. I feel calmer in my mind and my body. And it's not like with weed where you get high and then you're like, oh, I got the munchies, man. And then you don't get anything done for the rest of the day. 100% hand trimmed, never machine trimmed. They take the artisan approach. Every run is in a small batch. The quality is very high. The packaging, super quality. And best of all, it's grown here in the USA. Cushy Dreams has CBD flower in pre-rolls, and they come in specific indica sativa blends like energy, relax, create, hustle, dream, peace. So if you want to be a little more up or you want to be a little more relaxy before bed, they got you covered. So go to cushydreams.com, KUSHY dreams.com, and use promo code CMP at checkout to get 20% off every order. And I believe free shipping as well. So excited to have this gal on the podcast today. I've performed with her a bunch over the years. She's performed for the troops in the Middle East. She's got a Comedy Central special. She was part of the groundbreaking Funny Women of a Certain Age on Showtime. She's a comedian. She's an actress. She's a writer. She is at least a triple threat, if not more. I'm so excited to have her on the podcast today. Vanessa Hollingshead, how are you?
I'm good, Chrissy. I was thinking I'm so sorry about it going into trash. It was all the way down. It was
okay.
Next to, like, Credit Karma. So Chrissy, I just thought, where is this?
It's crazy.
It would be easier for me to perform for the troops in the Middle East than to try and figure out social media. I'm not even joking.
I hear you. It feels like, well, it is. It's a whole separate job. It's not enough to just like be funny anymore. It's like I feel like more it was before I started comedy, but not too long ago, it seems like all you needed was just to be really funny and talented and you'd be good.
Yeah, it's all changed. Now you have to have a page. You have to have what are your social media handles? You feel bad because you don't have a lot of, followers. It used to be if you said I have a lot of followers, they would think you were crazy,
Oh yeah, or it's like they meant like stalkers or something.
Stalkers, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really changed, and I'm working on a show. I'm writing, I'm one of these comedians that I'm either teaching or writing, trying to get work again, and the social media just falls to the wayside. It just doesn't, do anything for me.
Well, it's not fun. It's not
No.
fun unless I'm tweeting out a joke. Like I would say the majority of the social media that we have to do, it's promotion, and it's hard to promote yourself. It's annoying. It's annoying to like listen to yourself. You listen to your comedy recordings and like pick apart like what didn't work. It's annoying to be like, okay, let's find a good picture of me. Let's tweet. Okay, let's find a different picture. All right, this one's blurry.
Do a personal video now. They're like, can you do a personal video that? And I said that what you're playing at our club, because that'll just be like a nice personal touch when I'd be going on the road. Say I'd be in Massachusetts or Pennsylvania. We would just, get a special little clip. Funny women like Carol and I would tape it just to have something. I would do that character. So they, it's just very confusing. And then with comedy now, you say the wrong thing with this cancel culture. So everything is changing, and comedy is just starting to come back. And I was doing some shows in the city, and it's like, yeah, this is packed, and like everything was spread out. I literally felt from this, and I was doing open mics just to get time. I felt like I was just starting in the business again,
like a kid again. But that's good. It's like, and it's good that you're just like, yeah, I have to get, you got to get the rust out. Sometimes that's in a backyard show. Sometimes you have to do a mic, and it's good. I feel like you're one of there's not that many women like out there, I think, really trying to do it professionally. And I think there are so many unfunny female comics that it gives those of us that are trying to work really hard at this, more of an uphill battle.
Right.
But I loved Funny Women of a Certain Age. It's so great. Can you talk a little bit about how, I think this was this your collaboration with Carol, or did Carol bring you on a little later?
I'll tell you how it happened. And it's like, this is what should give everybody hope, that it doesn't matter. You never know who's watching you at any kind of dive you're working at. I had just gotten off a ship. I was very disillusioned because they would pull me off shows or say, you can't, do the Indian bit. You can't do the Muslim bit. You can't do but everyone, I was making fun of everybody equally. And it was warm and kind. It wasn't like.
Of course. Yeah. This was a cruise ship, right?
Yeah, it was a cruise ship. I figured people of all different ages and races and everything, and just pulling everyone together. And, so basically, I could talk about crazy white women, Deepak I could make fun of because he was rich. And
of course, yeah.
All the Europeans, but I had to leave if I was talking about the Germans, had to leave the Jews out. So it's like,
oh man.
We can do German stuff and not mention Jewish stuff. I just wouldn't, because
they go together like peanut butter and jelly.
Right. So I was very disillusioned. So I had to redo my act, and I used to do a bit on trying to get pregnant. I go in and see Dr. Mukherjee, and he's like, I do not know what the problem with you is, Vanessa. You might have many eggs like all the women in India. I'm like, so this is going to be upsetting somebody like.
Yes, I love
So I'm just like a little bit. So I come back to New York. It's a rainy day, and I'd always dress nice for the ships. But you always felt, as a woman, a guy could like talk to the crowd, do the same set, and nothing. A woman does it, and she's held to a different set of standards, which no one really talks about. You hear it's getting better, or we use women, whatever stuff they're saying. He's still, so it's very, but I have no complaints with the ships. I mean, when I was working on them, I did get some good. I got paid very well, because if you're not getting paid from the ships, you're getting paid nothing when you're out on the road until you break through and get to the next tier, which is what was going to happen with Funny Women and then COVID. So I'm going to I'm going to the theater, and it's raining, and I'm wearing like jeans and a t-shirt, just disgusted. And I've been trying to do the keto diet. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm going to get my croissant, my almond croissant. So I go to like Page or whatever, get the huge croissant. I'm sitting eating it in the back, back room. And I said, Carol, can I just talk about anything I want? She's like, of course. So we go to the Crane Theater, which is on 4th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. And there's like maybe 12 people there, 13. And I was just happy that I could talk about whatever I wanted to. So I'm eating the croissant backstage, and like it was the equivalent of like having crack, my blood sugar goes right up like this.
You're like, I'm so happy.
Yeah, I was so happy. Life was good. It was the most delicious thing I ever tasted. I go on stage, I'm on fire, and I'm joking with the young girls, the older women, the guys. I'm just letting it rip and doing all the bits I want to do. And Carol said, I just want you to know 9 of those people were from Showtime.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's what I'm telling you. You never know who's watching. And I'm like, Carol,
oh my God.
If you would have told me there's 9 people from Showtime and 2 people from Discovery, I would have been so tight and wanted to be.
Oh my God. Yeah, I would shit my pants.
Yeah. And then we did Funny Women a Certain Age of Stand Up New York. And she said, Showtime's interested in doing the show. I'm not sure yet. I'm like, yeah, Carol, if it works out, great. If not, it's nice. And then Carol said the show got picked up, and that French porn bit brought the house down. She said my French porn bit. So then we did the special. Then they ordered another special 6 months later. And then COVID hit. We were scheduled to go on Broadway to do a tour and to get all of us to get to the next level, and then that happened.
Okay, so what's the plan now? I mean, obviously all of you, you and Carol are very motivated and hard workers. Of course, I can't imagine you guys would let this just drop because of COVID.
Well, Carol is so good with business. And so Carol and I are like, we always get together, do some writing, like once a week, we try and get our writing together. She's trying to work on, there was tours that wanted to go out. So she's trying to get that, but you really want to, the dry bar where comedians can perform, there wasn't a lot of audience members at the dry bar, even though they said it was packed. So you want theaters to get more and more packed. So we're starting to bring back Funny Women. We're doing it here and there. We're doing it at a big outside festival that actually seats 15,000 people. And we don't know how many people will come there. I should know the name of the place. There's something, can't remember the name of the place. But I'll try and put everything up on my social media and keep it really relevant. And we're doing a bunch of, maybe 4 or 5 Funny Women shows. So we're trying to pick up the momentum, but you also, and then work on new stuff. And then I'm trying to just work on a new CD. So, and then teach classes, which has brought me. Oh my gosh. I've been teaching. I went from 8 students to 32 students. That was like,
wow.
And Heather, she was like, I could fill your classes up. People study with you and they get really good and they really like you. And I'm like, yeah, Heather, if we get 8 for Monday, I'm happy. And we'll make it 8 just so I could put in for background, or if something happens, if I'm on the road, I'm usually back Sunday night. The lowered expectations. It's like I had huge dreams and slowly my expectations just got lower. And I just was so tired of crying and being so disappointed. Not that I didn't believe in good things, but I would get so close. I got so close to so many things happening, and then something would go askew. So I thought, well, it's like what Jim Mendrino said, beautiful art form, ugly business. So the art form I loved, but the people that made the rules that didn't know comedy, don't know it was funny, and the people that always made the rules about the judgment that they had on women and the stuff you had to deal with as a woman. I didn't really have a lot of sexual harassment because I was married to Lucian Hold, who was the artistic director of the comic strip. So people would be very nice to me because they wanted to get past. And it changed when he died. And I would always act like a lesbian. I'd walk in there. I remember I'd walk in there because I get a little bit of warning from a friend. She'd like, be careful. He could be a little, sexual. So I'd go, hi, how do you do? Vanessa Hollingshead, give him a nice extra firm handshake. And I would just throw him. And I'd be like, okay, where's the, okay, do I get the red light, the white light? Okay, so I'm going to do about, this is when I was still featured. Okay, I'll do about 25, 28, get the light at 2, great. And do you have food here? Do I order? Okay, that sounds great. And I remember he looked at me and he said, are you funny? Like, oh yeah, I'm hysterical. You'll see you before showtime. And it was like I lowered my voice and like I killed, but he didn't. I got him to just back off by the way I behaved.
Who is this in particular?
No names.
Oh, okay. I thought I missed a detail because you were talking about. Okay,
it's like the one thing. It's like you don't want it to come back and haunt you.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you're like no nonsense. And it's good. It's good to like not have to deal with people hitting on you and then you have to like let them down. I don't know, easily. It's a lot to kind of dance around, you know, because people that you end up working with and working for, yeah, like they might hit on you. And sometimes you can't always be like, no, go fuck yourself. Like you have to.
No.
Yeah.
They can like maybe grow up and then maybe work with other people and you would have already kind of badmouthed them. And with social media being the way it is, you just have to watch what you say, from anything from political stuff to a date gone wrong. I mean, I had a date that was horrible a week ago and my friend said, you ought to post what happened on social media, on your Facebook. And I'm like, no, I just sent him a curt little note, not even mean, wishing him, you know, he got the hint, you know, I wish you the best. And I left it at that. I don't want all that energy to go for something negative. I've got enough things to, you know, you try and as you get older, you try and deal with things from a spiritual kind of viewpoint, because life as it is can get very scary especially with the COVID. You realize I have absolutely no control over what just happened. Mm-hmm. My life, to my career. Now I've got to do Zoom. I mean, it was a while before I was able to do Zoom comedy and it was
it's hard.
Oh, and I always do characters. So I'd be like,
yeah. How do you do it? You have to do it. Yeah.
You do the dolphin.
So you got to back up so your dolphin fits in the screen. That's tough.
Yeah. So that, and but on the plus side, a book came out about my dad, which I helped the author write, Andy Roberts. You know, when he flew me over to England, and it's called Divine Rascal, and it's all about how my dad, who was English, got a hold of LSD and gave it to Timothy Leary. And he was a hardworking guy from the North that literally changed his name. I mean, so no one knows that the reason why Tim Leary existed was because of my dad, because he got the LSD to my dad. And that was a friend.
Wow.
He got completely erased in history. So I ended up taking LSD when I was living at Millbrook Mansion when I was 5. And so I had a very... 5?
Oh
yeah.
My God. By accident?
Yeah, they left it on sugar cubes. So I had a very colorful life, and that was the beginning of my first bunch of jokes. I would say, you know, my dad was English. We used to do so much acid, LSD, psilocybin, blue bladder, purple haze, that we used to go on family trips together without ever leaving home. I have childhood memories. I have flashbacks. So I would write all that joke, but it came out from so much pain of being estranged from him, not seeing him, stuff with my mom. But anyway, I have a writing partner of 21 years. And I mean, we have a story that's amazing unto itself about how we stayed in each other's lives through thick and thin, through everything. So this book is getting a little bit of attention, but we're working on a show about, you know, those characters from that time period.
Wow. That sounds really amazing.
Yeah. A lot of work. So that's what almost this COVID thing made all that possible. And we have a pitch deck because you need all this stuff. You feel like Oz, you know, you have your 15-page Bible, then we have the 90-page Bible, then we got to have the verbal pitch, then we need the pitch deck. I mean, it's just insane.
That's a lot.
Furloughed for a year. I'm like, you can't win for losing. So that's when you get like disheartened. And you're like, how hard can two people work to make something excellent, you know, before you give us a shot? And they're doing this crazy musical on Broadway all about Cary Grant taking LSD, which he did, and Huxley and oh God, I forgot her name, another writer, and they're tap dancing, and it's called Flying Over Sunset. Like, it's just outrageous, and it's a very good, prominent, director, and I don't understand what's happened. Just insane.
Why do you feel like it's too close to your idea?
No, it's absolutely outrageous. It's like a silly idea. It's like,
okay.
If I did my show about my dad and he was a drinker and took LSD, and I said, "Oh, now we're going to break into tap dancing." It's just do this. It's like if you saw a show on say if you saw a show on on something really serious and it's turned into a musical. It's like taking 42nd Street and someone that wrote Brave New World or Doors of Perception and Huxley, like these brilliant authors, and just kind of minimizing, the effect that they had on culture at that time. So
yeah, just making it like, I don't know, not like it's dishonoring it, but it's changing its form and, I don't know, commercializing, commodifying something a little bit more. Did you when you were married to Lucian, were you getting shit from people like, oh, it's a conflict of interests, or maybe more so when you were dating, were people giving you flack, comics, because, oh, you're dating this booker, the booker of the comic strip?
Yeah, it was very hard. And I didn't want, and Lucian wasn't sure about me. He wasn't sure if he was in love with me or not. So this was even, so I'm like, wow, okay, I just slept with the booker. Now he's not sure about me. There's other women that come in, and we had a tumultuous relationship. It was like Eliza Doolittle and Professor Higgins. I mean, and then eventually we got closer and closer, but there'd be people I'd overhear, well, she's getting spots because she's fucking Lucian, or she's getting spots because she's fucking her. Well, yeah, I guess you get spots, and just loud enough for me to hear.
Oof.
I got passed in all the clubs. I mean, I was working at the Cellar. I was working at Caroline's way before any, I was working at the Cellar. I was working at Caroline's. I was working at Broadway. I was working at Dangerfields. I was working at Stand Up New York. And I was working at the comic strip. And he would not give me any more spots than others, but I was really funny. So I was the woman that you put on the show, but he still used like Sue Costello, Leanne Lord, Patty Rossborough. I mean, there was tons of women that he used regardless. Wanda Sykes, he just used everybody. But that was the kind of thing. And then when he died, there was a lot of women that I helped. And I realized that they became my friends because they, would eventually get passed. Because I was very pro-woman. I'd been taking care of women. I didn't have any issues with women. And, after he died, I realized that, the friendships were kind of to get to Lucian. Because I said, what, you should see her. She's really funny. And I never really said anything derogatory about women or men because I was so close to Lucian. I had to do the right thing. But I don't think the comedians believe that at all. They could believe what they wanted to believe. But both Lucian and I tried to be very fair. And he wanted to come out in the open and talk about us being together. And I said, listen, I am trying to get passed and respected in all these clubs. And I said, your career is ahead of you. Mine is just beginning. I just want to be in all these clubs working before we come out. I think I was maybe working at 2, and I just wanted it to be more clubs. And I worked around the clock. And then, when people realized that we were together, we were going to be together for a while, things changed. They just accepted it. But I had to go through that horrible growing pains of people laughing, saying you're going to get, no one will ever use you. Lucian is like, Lucifer. Bill Maher wrote a book about, I think he called Lucian Lucius or something, or Lucifer, and he was very difficult to get through, but he was actually he loved comedians. He, developed a lot of comedians that went on to be famous, like, Adam Sandler, and gave Chris Rock spots, and Ray Romano. I mean, the list can go on. Sarah Silverman, Louis C.K., Dave Chappelle. So he was very, he loved comedians, and even ones that never got to the next point, next phase. If they were funny, he would use them. So,
yeah. Do you felt as, you two grew closer and he came to like maybe depend on your tastes or your take on comics? Like, would he kind of ask you first, like, what do you think of, this or that comic? If they were, he was thinking of passing them?
Well, before you got to Lucian, you had to go through a couple comedians beforehand, and then he'd pass them on to Lucian, that if he felt good enough. But I would know that a couple of these comics that you had to use to get to Lucian, I kind of knew what their taste was. So a couple times, I would pull Lucian aside and I would say, listen, I think so-and-so is very talented or funny. I would just take a look at him. And I didn't do it a lot. I did it maybe 2 or 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Because, that was his job. He had a great eye. And I didn't want to get too involved. But if there was women, I would take him to see a woman comedian, or I'd take him to a one-person show. And then he'd go, oh, she's very funny. Yeah, I think I'll use her. So that's how I tried to do that. So he could just see for himself who was funny. So I would set up situations where he would go check this person out.
That's really great. Yeah. And it's good that you only did that. It's amazing. You only did that a couple times, the whole time.
I did it maybe a total of maybe 6 or 7 times. And it was the women I'd always try and push through. And Lucian had such a great eye. And I would sometimes watch the open micers, but it wasn't like we were a team. I mean, when we were doing the schedule together, when he got very, very sick, we would work on the schedule together. But we both had very similar tastes. And if he thought someone was funny and I didn't see it, I just wouldn't say a word. And there was a bunch of them that he saw promise with. And I just thought, okay, you see something I don't, but I would never say anything. I go, okay. And I had enough comedy work to do and enough on my, with my situation, I just didn't get too involved.
Yeah, that sounds like the right way to handle it. You mentioned, he did get sick. There was a roast of Jim Norton in 2004. And I think it was like maybe months or weeks before Lucian died. Like, I know he was like, at that point he wasn't doing well. And I noticed there were so many jokes kind of about him, or like nodding to him. Did you see some of that roast? Do you remember, do you remember watching it? And it also leads me to this like next topic, which is like, he was in bad shape, and they're making fun of him at this roast. There's jokes about him, whereas I feel like now I don't know if that would still happen. I wonder if it was it this group of people, or was it more the time that it happened that allowed that roast to kind of be what it was, like that allowed people to be like, yeah, they made jokes about Lucian being sick.
It about killed me. Because Lucian was there. He saw the whole roast. Whoa.
Okay. Wow. Jeez. Did it affect him? Did it hurt? I mean,
he hit it. Whatever he hit it.
You could tell though.
Think about it now, because I'll.
Oh, I had no idea. I just figured, all right, these guys all know each other. It must be.
They had no idea Lucian was there to go support Jim Norton, to support all the guys that he passed. And some guy said some nasty stuff about him. And then after he died, they apologized to me for saying that. And I was just like, yeah, well, Lucian was there, and I'm sure he would have forgiven you,
Wow. All right. That sounds like that was really hard. I had no idea.
Yeah. Imagine you only have a number of months to live, and you're getting trashed, and you go there to maybe support your comic friends that you believed in. And they're just trashing you.
Oof, that's really hard.
He took it on the cuff, and it's so interesting that I didn't really know. I couldn't, like, if that was me in that situation, I'd be devastated. There would be a bunch of people I'd never talk to, and I would never talk to. And I said, you don't do roast like Bob Hope and, the roast of yesteryear, where there was a warmth about it. It was just mean-spirited. You could all put yourself. Really, I was devastated. I can't even talk about it without. And he took off. Well, these are harsh jokes, but there's, they're usually affectionate. I mean, the way he handled it was so above board that it made me cry. And I had a great roast when I roasted Patrice O'Neill. I did that roast, and that was like put my name on the map. But I got accused of that. Someone wrote my roast jokes for me, and someone wrote a few of my roast jokes because I wasn't mean spirited, but they didn't write them all, so it went around. So I told this guy that helped me write some of the jokes, how could you do that to a person? Because I promised him, if he can help me write some roast jokes, he'll do a TV show. Not only was he invited back to do this TV show, he went to do it 3 times. I'm like, how do you live with yourself? And he was good friends with Lucian. How do you, and Lucian had already died, how do you live with yourself doing that? So that was the beginning after he died, where I just asked myself, what kind of business have I been in? What kind of blinders have I had? And that's when I was it was the young comedians coming up that didn't know Lucian, that were my friends, because they were my friends. And I mean young in like, not age, I mean a lot of them were younger, that I stayed close to, and a few people that were always my friends in this business that I stayed close to. But, it was just and then I couldn't get spots at the comic strip that was my home club. I'd get maybe a Tuesday, and then a book was written about Lucian, and I wasn't even mentioned. I mean, just so much fun. Wow. I remember talking to my writing partner, and I brought this painting of Lucian. I brought it for them to have to the comic strip, and my picture was right in front of the wall, like when you'd walk in, and then it got moved to like above the men's toilet. So I was like, now, and then we did this show, like a joke on The Sopranos, and I think the owner of the club got disgusted, and I was just asked to play this role. But that was that, and then I had to beg for spots on a Tuesday, from doing weekend spots or getting like a Monday and then maybe a Saturday, to like 2 months to wait to get a Tuesday spot. And I was so disillusioned. I was beside myself. And my writing partner said, she's like, this is going to eat you alive. It's going to make you dark and bitter and cynical. If you can keep the comic strip in your heart and just walk away. You had 10 great years there with a man that loved you, and just keep it moving and allow new things to come back into your life. And that's kind of what I did.
That's true. It's like you're focusing on like what you had with him at a time, and not the building. Without him, it was kind of like a shell, and it wasn't the same place after he was gone. So, I mean, that sounds really hard. And I mean, at least put it above the women's toilet. Come on. I mean, that's really hard. I remember I was a couple years ago, I was doing a roast, and my mom was diagnosed with brain cancer, and it wasn't getting real bad yet, but of course it's a terrible diagnosis, and like you only have a couple years, like best case scenario. And I was doing a roast with this comic Allison Klemp, and like I always like to think like, hey, I'm bulletproof, and like sometimes you'll do a roast with somebody and they'll be like, is anything off limits? But she didn't. I don't think she asked, and she came out with this joke about my mom, like she knew that she had brain cancer, like something like the growth in Chrissie's mom's head is like the best thing she's ever made with her body, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but like inside I was like, oh, it like hurt. And I'm lucky that the audience reaction was the same as mine. Like it was just a split second moment. I'm like, is the audience going to laugh at that? And then they were like, ooh. And so I was like, okay, cool. But it's like, I wasn't prepared for it. And it like, it definitely hurt, but you're supposed to be like, okay with it. It's a roast, right? And if I had said to her that this is off limits, I'm sure she wouldn't have shied away from it. I know that's like not at all similar to what you and Lucian went through listening to what you did, but I just like
no, it's
know
still
that
like hurt. It's still like
it makes you go like
funny.
It makes you go like, what business am I in? Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes as a comedian, when an audience decides they like you and another comedian says something off color, I remember hosting a show and a famous comedian said, how about a hand for a comedian that hates men? That's what he said. And the audience went dead quiet.
It's so uncreative.
And I waited for him to get off stage. And I'm like, I know you didn't bother listening to me because God forbid you listen to my jokes. But no, I don't hate men. I love relationships. I try and figure them out. And he was like, okay, give me a hug.
How insincere. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's doing very well. So this is where you have to that's why I was hoping Funny Women, it would be like, we get tours, we get to do what we want. We hang out with a bunch of women because all of us support women, of a certain age, women under a certain age, women way over a certain age. We really support women. And Carol is amazing like that. So
yeah, you all are truly no bullshit, not superficial. I've always genuinely felt supported, and you guys are among the most genuine people, not just women, but in comedy, period. And there's absolutely still a market and an audience for that show. It's still something people want to see. It's just everything was so sidelined by the last year and change. So I hope I don't think you guys are
on Showtime. That special had the highest rating. We never know how many millions of people watch it, but it was the highest rating on the comedy special. So we knew that we had something, and it was if there wasn't a second show, it would be a little bit more concerning, but there was a second show ordered. So if it was a one-off, it would have been okay, we gave the old funny chicks a shot. Now let's go on with the new. But no, it got another one got made.
Yeah. I think it's ultimately just about getting people to a place where they're comfortable gathering in a big theater again, because your talent is still all there. The show idea is still great. It's timelessly funny people. It's a great idea. So maybe that's what it'll have to come down to. It's you left off in a really great place with Showtime. And I mean, I'm sure there's more stuff in the works.
It's still kind of sorting itself out. So, Carol might say, September is looking good. If not, after New Year's, we have to get everybody vaccinated and healthy and in the theaters. And we don't have control. So Carol can just keep things moving, and we can keep saying we're there, and then keep working on material and stuff, and then keep doing Zoom, live comedy shows. You just keep it going. But, there's I did a weekend show at in New York, and I got $25 for Saturday night.
Whoa, yeah, they've had to scale things down.
And then they have extra shows now. They'll have a 6, an 8, a 10, a 12, to recoup their money and just have different people coming in. So all that's changing. I'm doing a Zoom show for guy overseas in Saudi Arabia. So I'm doing that this weekend. And then I did a business show for women in business in Long Island, again, a Zoom show. And I've done Zoom shows where they're listen, we're going to mute the audience, so just do your jokes. And I said, well, I need an audience to have some laughter, even if it's I hear a few people. And they're well, your jokes work. When I first started doing Zoom, talking way too fast, because it was
it's a talk more than a back and forth
monologue. Yeah. And then you'd be talking knowing that everyone's listening and everything's muted, and you're
oh man, that's rough.
It's so awful.
You need the response from people, and
But comedy goes both ways. The comic performs, and then the audience gives back. It's to me the conductor and the orchestra. We both work together. It's not that you're so alone on stage. It's just you, though, but you're not really alone.
Yeah, it's the audience provides fuel. They can give you really fun nuggets to play with.
Mm-hmm.
Are you worried about the future of live shows, especially these large theater ones?
I'm worried about the future of life. I mean. One of my jokes is, I remember seeing the Hunger Games and thinking, wow, I think this is a futuristic documentary for what's to come. I'm worried about mass globalization just kind of taking over.
Yeah.
And everything as we've known it, any kind of freedom as we've known it, we're slowly losing for convenience. We're losing our privacy. We're losing, that I hope we can slowly start to change and just have more community-based stuff and smaller companies and not these big conglomerates eating up everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen to the history of comedy. I mean, everybody needs to laugh. Everybody needs to, death, taxes, the doctors, and a good laugh. I mean, we all need it. I don't know what's going to happen for the future, but the thought of doing Zoom shows, I mean, some people love them. They don't have to leave their house. I need to see a person. I need to look in their eyes. I don't do well. I did not do well with this isolation. It really depressed me. I've curled up in a ball sometimes thinking, when is this going to end? And then I remember forgetting to wear my mask and going down the elevator, and people are like, you thought I would be the Scarlet Woman, you thought there would be a adultery on it was just crazy. And I remember I'm obsessed with Handmaid's Tale, and I'm like, wow, I love the Handmaid's Tale. Now I feel like I'm in the Handmaid's Tale, with drones flying around, stay 6 feet apart. It's just the whole thing has been
crazy.
And I'm telling you, I had tears in my eyes. I did a show at the Crane last week, and I was noticing more and more people with their masks down. And I just had tears in my eyes that it was a beautiful, spring night. And people were just talking and hugging. And I'm like, man, we have all been through the war. And I don't know the one thing I did learn about COVID in life is we learned how to do Zoom. We learned how to work on Zoom. And it's very people that were working on Zoom, they were exhausted because they had to figure this tech thing out. Then you're talking to somebody. I was doing jokes, and you could be talking like I'm talking to him, and it goes. And then after the orphanage,
you heckle yourself.
What happens?
Zoom freeze.
Yeah. Freeze, or the Matrix, here I am in my apartment, and then somebody's on the beach somewhere. This.
Oh yeah, the different backgrounds.
I'm so close to my cat. I love cats, but now my cat's my spirit animal. We just have gotten so close. Just the look.
Just you and your cat.
Me and my cat. I got the sweetest cat in the world. She always wants to play. Thank God she's taking a nap. But she'll I've gotten very close to my cat. It's a different, it's just us right now until things get better. You just form. And then I'm like, thank God I found my cat on the street, because to have gotten through this without any animals, and you couldn't just adopt animals at the time, because I thought that's when I started teaching. I'm like, I got to give back. I can't. What can I do? And I wanted to work, at shelters, at the ASPCA, the Humane Society. I'm like, I'd much rather be around animals than people at this point. And you couldn't even get a job there.
Wow, that's rough. And things are not as bad now, but to your point about worrying about the globalization and the global control, I do think there are enough people fighting back. I still think even more people could be activated. I think truly people are not, a lot of folks are not aware of the dangerous position we're in, that we could lose more rights. It's scary. But I think it's a lot of younger people who just haven't lived through enough life or don't know.
Yeah, let me just tell Jeannie she was expecting. Let me just tell her I'm finishing up. Finishing.
Is that your writing partner?
Yeah.
Aw.
Podcast call at 1. Call at 2. I'll call podcast. I'll call at 2.
Is she a comic too?
Oh no, she's a yoga teacher and an actress. Yoga teacher and an actress. Okay. Amazingly talented, and she directed my one-woman show at the time called Flashback, and the log line is, "What do you do when your father's closer to Timothy Leary than he is to you?" And I did all these characters. Wanted to do so. You see they see this little girl with all these characters, and I reenact the characters, and then I don't do the sentences, but from the way they're talking to me, how I'm responding or how they're responding. And we worked the show got into the Aspen Comedy Festival.
Wow.
We worked like dogs on that. And then industry was supposed to come to the shows, and they didn't. And I walked away from my agent. I was very upset at the time. And my agent in New York, I loved. He came to every single show. But my agent in LA was promoting somebody else. So that's what I mean. Like, I get so close,
man.
do all the work, and then something happens. And this is maybe the 5th time this has happened. So my friend, who is very spiritual, I remember like maybe 5 or 6 years, I said to him, I said, I'm such a good comic, and no matter what I do, nothing works out, and I can't seem to make any money. And she's like, that is the energy. That's what you're telling the universe. It's going to hear it. I'm such a good comic. She goes, yeah, and you're staying a good comic. No matter how hard you try, you can't get through, and you're not getting any money. So, like,
you're creating more of that, right? The whole manifestation thing.
To believe that everything mirrors itself. You know, whatever you send out, it's just like when you do the positive affirmations. If you're spending 20 hours hating yourself, and then you do the positive affirmations, I love you just the way you are, but the self-hatred or the self-criticism comes in Dolby stereo, then you'll be like, these affirmations don't work. It's like, because they're not the ones that are vibrating. The ones that are vibrating are negative. So she said, stop with saying that. So I'd be thinking it, and slowly I stopped thinking it. And then things began to shift around. You just had to focus on what was working. So with all this, everything in upheaval, you could either like let life frighten you about what's going to happen, or you can try and learn from it and go to the opposite, where you go a little bit more spiritual. You take time for prayer and meditation, or you take time, what am I grateful for today? What do I have today? Your health, your animals, a partner, you know, just all the things, you know, comedy. And I mean, that's how I've had to do that. Otherwise, it's just, the whole thing just depresses me.
Yeah, the mindset is so, it's like, sounds like so corny, but it's so important, because like just hearing about all the things you're working on, like you have so many projects going that comics would kill to have that much going on. And yeah, it's all about telling yourself like, yeah, I have multiple streams of income. Money is always flowing to me. Opportunities are constantly coming my way, and you're so talented, and you're like, it's all there, you know? So even
if they're not flowing my way, you say that. Thank the universe for providing everything I need, and whatever, or God, and whatever your will is for me, let me know, and let me be of service, you know, to others. And some days you don't feel like being of service to anybody, and you're like, okay, God, I've been a lot of service. I've done everything right. I really care about everybody. Wrote my fucking heart out. I keep trying. I did this show. I did that show. What do you want from me? And I feel like Sisyphus, you know, you get the rock all the way up to the top of then it comes falling back down. So then, you know, you just get over yourself. I mean, there's so many people, like I think of the sweatshops in China. You know, if I want to feel better, the gulags in Russia, like there's people, the poor people in India, you know, that all of them got, you know, not all of them, but a lot of them got COVID because no one got the vaccines to them. And you know, the rich Indians were getting sick. So that's how they ended up getting the vaccines to the poor Indians. You know, it's again, the whole class system seems to be, you know, globally.
Yeah.
The haves and the have-nots.
Yeah. It is always good to like, it sucks because you're not seeing those people in front of you. So it's hard to compare, but it's always good to like, even when it's so difficult, be like, okay, just what are 3 things I'm grateful for in this moment, even though it seems so hard. So you're tough. You're a tough cookie.
Well, I try and say it like I'm waiting for the next person to say, shut it down, or that's offensive. And I just want to say, you know what? You're the real oppressor here. You're oppressing me from speaking out. And if it is offended, if you are offended, I know no one forced you to come to a comedy club. If you could just explain to me where my one joke impacted your life and how you just kind of cherry picked it, so then I can understand what I could maybe do better. Because you're the real oppressor that is not letting me say what I have to say.
Right. It's so selfish.
Yeah. And then I would say, so you've changed the whole energy of the room, but now I'm going to get the floor. I'm going to like just to get it right back on them. I'm done. And then the other thing was, I would say, you know what? You have a cell phone. You have an iPad. You have nice clothes. They're all been manufactured in China. How come you don't feel bad that there's some 20-year-old doing this for 10, 12 hours a day, that they have nets at the actual factories so that you can, you know, say, I found this comedian offensive? How come that doesn't offend you? How come
Yeah.
people starving all the time? How come watching people, native New York, New Yorkers that are out in the street, how come that never seems to offend you? But my joke about, whatever offends you.
Yeah, at this show, which you voluntarily came to. So it's
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think if more comedians, I'm like, I could only start, the next time, because I used to do a joke about that just to kind of change the energy. Like I was doing a joke and a woman got offended. She's like, I'm lactose intolerant. I'm like, so you're allergic to cheese? No, I'm allergic. So you're like, I'm offended by that joke about
Milk products.
Yeah, about being lactose intolerant. I said, but I'm joking about cheese. And she's like, no, you're joking about white American cheese.
Oh, God.
I'm like, I don't have any jokes on blue cheese or cheeses of color. I mean, blue cheese, I like. When you look on the back,
Cheeses
you're like, I
color.
don't even know what's in there. So now I'm arguing with a woman about cheese. Now, this was a joke. I made it up to just change the mindset of the audience to know, like, we're in a comedy club. Stop taking everything so seriously.
Yeah, it seems like common sense, especially when you voluntarily walk into a club to have a good time. But it's amazing how many people just are not.
One joke, you're laughing through everything, and then it's like, oh, that joke's fine with the French person, but no, that joke about the Asian person, no, shut it down. And then I'm like, okay, I do not. I grew up in New York. I'm not mean-spirited, but now we're going to make it about you. Now you're going to get all the attention because now I'm going to flip it on you. And, audience is it's just going to be, it won't be pleasant because I won't be happy. And I'll try and do it with a smile on my face and as charming as I can be. But, I feel like they should start this cancel culture twats should be put on the spot now.
They are twats, and you're doing the right thing. And it reminds them, like, if they do it for power, it gives them some sort of like high or a rush, like they feel in control, because always people who do this have very little control over their own. I mean, no one has complete control over their own lives, but it's always somebody who's miserable and who sucks. Mm-hmm. And it's like, they're going to remember that moment with you, and they'll be less likely to do that again to somebody else. Cause it's like, they think it's a, I don't know, a victimless crime, or they get to feel good and nobody
feel good. It makes them feel good. And I'm like, okay, if you're going to use me to make yourself feel good, and I know that my joke is not going to change and disempower your life and make you feel unsafe and triggered, you will be put on the spot finally, and you can explain yourself, and you can maybe not know what to say. And I can't wait for them. Oh, you don't know what to say. Oh, fuck you. Oh, now you're leaving. Oh, okay.
Good for you. Fuck them, Vanessa. Mm-hmm. You're better than that. Yeah. Vanessa, I know you have to run. Thank you so much for coming on. You're such a pleasure to talk to. You're such an inspiration. Where can people find you, follow you, check out your stuff?
Please Facebook me. And I've got a Facebook page. And the next time I am performing, I've got some Zoom shows. The next show is at the, that's another Zoom. I'm waiting to get my sets, but okay, I'm thinking of a big show that's going on. I'm going to be doing Wolf Park. If we have anyone from Staten Island, I'm doing New York Laughs in Staten Island, Wolf Park Pond Comedy. And then I'm going to be at the Comedy Cove with Mick Thomas, and that's in New Jersey.
Scotty's Comedy Cove. When's that?
That's going to be Friday, June 25th, and Saturday, June 26th. And I'm not headlining. I usually headline there, but I told Gene I'll do anything just to keep doing live comedy. So he said, listen, someone dropped out. I know you like to do live. So that's what I'm doing.
Good for you, Vanessa. And people can go, I guess, go to your website.
The stand, I think. Hold on, the Funny Women of a Certain Age. We will be doing the stand now. It's scheduled. It should be the 30th, but it's subject to change. But these things are all set. So the best would be the Laughter in the Park, which will be at Wolf Park Pond. And there's a lot of great comedians there. And I was with her, with Suzette, when she started the whole thing, you know, and we just had a generator and it was homeless people at Tompkins Square Park just walking through. So it's come a long way.
That's great. Everybody go follow Vanessa. Go see her. She is one of the funniest comics of all time, at least that I've seen, in my humble opinion. Vanessa, thank you so much. I will talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chrissy.